All right. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to A Round for the Weekend at a new time. I'm your host, as always, Ryan McCarthy. And as always, we are powered by Belly Up Sports. Go to bellyupsports.com. Check out all our content there, writing, podcasting, video stuff. We do live streams and such. Go over there and check out our stuff. So let's get into what's happening. And before I go into this week's episode, I just kind of want to explain what's been going on, why I had the time change, why I decided to go with the time change. Oh, there we go. That's a lot better. Why I decided to go with the time change from 6:30 to 7:30, and there's a couple of parts to it. The first one being that it's just a more time for me to prepare. I work until 6:30 at night, or I work until 4:30 daily, and I have more time to prepare for the show rather than having a couple hours, 2 hours. I have I have more than enough time to prepare, so I figure I'd have more time, 3 hours to prepare. Excuse me, rather than go from rather than having an hour to prepare, I have 2 hours to prepare. So it gives me some time to prepare for the show. And excuse me for a moment, and just have some time just to prepare, get rested for the show, eat dinner. That's always a big component to it. And secondly, it gives me some time. Sorry for my voice here. It just made sense because I can't always have guests on the show. I'd like to have some sort of a rotating panel with Belly Up Sports guests, especially. I've had some panelists on the show. I've had some people on the show come on. I have had buddies of mine on the show come on, and I think it's just a better time for people to be part of the show, because 6:30 on the East Coast here is usually dinner time. It's when people gather with their families, have some time with their families, and 7:30, at that time, people have already eaten. They've had time to just kind of chill out for the day. That's what I kind of wanted to do. I wanted to just have some time to settle down from the day, prepare for the show, and maybe have a guest or two on in the future. So that was primarily the biggest reasons why I switched over my time from 6:30 to 7:30. Just made sense. All right. So now let's get the business end is out of the way. Let's get into what to drink in. So tonight I'm going to do the same thing I drank last week, as this past Sunday, with the with Living Goods, the Bear Swamp Stout. It's a chocolate coffee stout. It's from Living Goods Brewing Company up in Peru, New York, which is that way. It's north, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. One of my good friends actually bought a 4-pack for me, and I had it last week on Sunday's show, and I had my buddy Jason from Puck and Pigskin podcast. I was on his podcast last week, on episode 2, I believe, and he returned the favor. He came out. He was on the Sunday Fun Day episode of Around for the Weekend. You can go check it out in the replay. So I'm going to go ahead and pour this. It's a nice stout. Usually at this time of year, I'm drinking Pilsners. I'm drinking lagers because it's a little bit lighter. But right now, April weather is funky in New York. So I decided to go with the stout. So there it is in the mug. There's the mason jar mug. Cheers, everyone. It's the weekend. Ooh, it's a good stout. All right, so let's get into some topics tonight. And tonight's episode title is called Slanderers, Cowards, and Therapy Animals. So let's start with the Slanderers. And this was brought to my attention on Belly Up Sports, one of our editors, or one of our our marketing director wrote this in our football chat about Mike Florio's possibly slanderous comments on Julian Edelman. So what am I alluding to? Well, let me just read this article from WEEI in Boston. And this is the title. It said, Mike Florio, Julian Edelman could take PEDs before coming out of retirement to sign with Buccaneers. Okay, let's continue. Mike Florio isn't, and I'm quoting here, Mike Florio isn't buying Julian Edelman's retirement. In fact, the founder of Pro Football Talk suggests Edelman could now take advantage of a loophole and return next season at full strength, all while joining up with Tom Brady in Tampa Bay. On a recent edition of PFT Live, Florio correctly pointed out retired players are free to come back and play whatever they want. This is true. And as always, just forgot to mention, put a comment in the comments section, whether you're checking in on Facebook, whether you're on Twitter, Periscope, or you're on YouTube. Leave a comment. I'll get to it. But anyway, let's get back to this article and let's break it down a little bit. So, and this is a quote from Florio, nothing prevents a guy from coming back, Florio said. As of right now, Julian Edelman says, I was going to play until the wheels came off. The wheel came off. Well, between now and November or December, they can put the wheel back on. That's what wheels do. Okay. A little bit cryptic there. And then the article goes on. Edelman, 34, underwent knee surgery last October, which sidelined him for the rest of the season. Also, the Patriots weren't that good last season, but neither were my New York Jets. So anyway, sidebar. It was a scrappy wideout second knee surgery in 3 years. Edelman tore his ACL in August 2017 and, of course, missed the entire campaign. The following summer, Edelman was suspended 4 games, violating the NFL's performance-enhancing drug policy. He appealed the suspension, but was denied. At the time, Edelman said he doesn't quote, know what happened. He came back and won Super Bowl MVP in what was probably the most boring Super Bowl ever. Anyway, since the Patriots released Edelman prior to his retirement announcements, he's not currently beholden to league policy. In his video, Edelman said his body can no longer last through the rigors of an NFL schedule. But it's possible he could feel differently once the season starts. Time and some modern medical advancement can heal all physical wounds, at least according to Florio. Quote, he can go use whatever he was using when he got busted 3 years ago. Florio said, do what you have to do, take what you have to take, get yourself back to the point where your knee is in good shape, cycle off, show up, get tested, be clean, play for the Buccaneers. Whoa. Let me read that again. Let me read that statement again. He, and this is Florio talking about Julian Edelman, can go use whatever he was using when he got busted 3 years ago. Okay. Do what you have to do. Take what you have to take. Get yourself back to the point where your knee is in good shape. Cycle off. Show up. Get tested. Be clean. Play for the Buccaneers. Now, first of all, if I remember correctly from that suspension from 4 years ago, Edelman was taking a substance that he thought was legal substance. Of course, a lot of players say this when they get busted for PEDs or any kind of when they get popped for PEDs or any kind of other drugs like marijuana. Of course, marijuana is being legal in a lot of states now. The policy was reformed, I believe, when the NFLPA reformed their policies, and they're a lot more lenient now when it comes to marijuana, getting popped for marijuana use. But still, you're accusing Edelman of being a consistent PED user. Now, athletes take supplements. I take supplements when I work out. I take a pre-workout or I drink coffee, and I also have one of those couple pills that are nitric oxide boosters. They help with oxygen and whatnot. I also take turmeric. I also take multivitamins, fish oil, probiotics. I mean, anything to keep myself healthy. I think anybody would try anything to keep themselves healthy. Pro athletes, the same thing. Protein shakes, supplements, things to help with the recovery. I think a lot of these PEDs, I think there needs to be some reform in that regard for PEDs. Let players recover faster. Football is a tough sport, especially if you're playing a 16, now 17 game schedule, plus preseason workouts, plus we're working out all the time, plus off-season workouts. And don't forget, you also have those weeks where you have to play Sunday and then you play Thursday, which impacts your week tremendously because it gives you less time to recover. You're more prone to injuries on Thursday than you are on Sunday. That's a fact. You play 2 games at high impact in a short amount of time, your likelihood of getting hurt increases exponentially. But I think Florio's comments are irresponsible. They're highly irresponsible because, I'm going to read it one more time. It says you can use whatever he was taking when he got busted 3 years ago. Okay. No denying that Edelman got busted. He's admitted to such, I believe. Do what you have to do. Take what you have to take. Get yourself back to the point where your knee is in good shape. Cycle off, show up, get tested, be clean, play for the Buccaneers. How do you know he's going to play for the Buccaneers? How do you know that he's going to, that in November or December, kind of similar to what Antonio Brown did last year, he's going to just up and sign with the Buccaneers? I know that Tom Brady have a good relationship. Gronk is also in the mix for the Buccaneers. They have a good relationship with Brady. I presume that Edelman and Gronk are pals too, but the assumption they're going to sign with you're going to sign with the Buccaneers, which is basically turning into Tampa Bay South, or Tampa Bay North at this point, or as Tampa Bay is New England South, whichever. Sorry. But to assume that he's still taking PEDs is highly slanderous. It's highly slanderous. And Florio has that protection from NBC because NBC carries the NFL. Pro Football Talk is carried by NBC. NBC Sports Network is the carrier for Pro Football Talk. Gossie Bear, go Bucks. So anyway, got a little sidetracked there. Those comments just are going to come back to haunt Florio. Now, he's got the protection of NBC, so he doesn't get fired. I think it's highly arrogant for anyone who's been in sports media for that long to kind of get away with things. It's highly irresponsible. I just graduated with my journalism degree last year. I've been writing and doing podcasting for Belly Up Sports and live streaming for the past year. Actually, this show just had its first anniversary. I think next week is my first anniversary, so might have to have a spectacular episode spectacular. But anyway, if you've been a football journalist for that long and you say something like this, it's highly slanderous. That's highly irresponsible. And I really hope that Julian Edelman sues the pants off of NBC and Mike Florio and Pro Football Talk for this slander. This is ridiculous. Ridiculous. I mean, I'm not a Patriots fan. I highly respect Julian Edelman. He's worked his butt off to get to that kind of level where he's worked his butt off to get to this kind of elite level. He's been one of the best receivers in football over the past decade. And to just come at him and just accuse him of continually taking PEDs, highly irresponsible. Edelman should sue. Point blank, period. All right. So speaking of highly irresponsible things to say, let's talk about LeBron James. And this segment's called LeBron James is an Arrogant Coward. Now, I don't know. Things have been really tense this week. In big cities, major cities, the Chauvin trial in Minneapolis, he was found guilty of all 3 charges. Later that day in Columbus, there's an officer-involved shooting where a 16-year-old girl is killed after wielding a knife to another person. Cop shoots her. It's on video. Which point of editorial point, sidetrack point, can our media please stop turning us into a snuff film? Please. Anywho, so LeBron James the next day comes out, posts a picture of the cop who had to make a decision to shoot this 16-year-old girl who was taking a knife to another woman. Posts a tweet. It says, "You're next," in caps, hashtag accountability. And it's a picture of the cop. So, again, more highly irresponsible things. Another highly irresponsible tweet. This is, and I kind of think of social media as something my mom used to say when I was a kid. If you have nothing nice to say, don't say anything at all. And what LeBron James did, and he's since taken the tweet down. We'll get to that in a second. We'll get to that side in a second. But what he said was, he has his tweet. He's basically doxing the cop itself, and that puts the cop's life in danger for sure. Family's in danger. He's in danger. I'm sure people will try to look out for him, and Columbus will try to look out for him and try to murder him. Okay, not murder him, but try to harm him. So LeBron James puts that tweet up. It's taken. It's captured on other types of media, and eventually he takes the tweet down. But then he kind of, I wouldn't say doubles down on what he says, but let me look at the tweet and see if it's still there. Okay. So he says, "I'm so damn tired of seeing black people killed by police." A lot of us are. I took the tweet down because it's being used to create more hate. This isn't about one officer, it's about the entire system. They always use our words to create more racism. I'm so desperate for more accountability. Well, about that. So he doesn't apologize. And this is why I think he's. This is why I came up with a segment called "LeBron James is an arrogant coward," because he's arrogant, because he knows he can get away with tweeting that kind of thing. He's also a coward because he didn't apologize. He didn't apologize to the cop's family. He didn't apologize to the cop. He just took the tweet down, no apology, doubling down. And this is what gets people killed. This is what gets people hurt. This is what gets people. And we live in a society where right now there's no such thing as forgiveness. It's and people in the service industry, high service industry, firemen, nurses, doctors, police, and now police are especially under the biggest watch because now everything they do can be caught on camera with the cameras. Now, are there bad cops? Yes, absolutely there are bad cops out there. Are there good cops who make bad decisions? Yes, we saw that in Minneapolis with the other shooting that went on. This decision, could call it a bad decision, but at the time, you only have a few seconds to make a decision. He's telling people to get down because he's about to discharge his weapon. But getting back to LeBron James, I think he took the cowardly way out. And so instead of owning up to the fact that he could have had this officer harmed, he doesn't apologize and he doubles down. No, I get his conviction, that he's tired of racism. I'm tired of racism too, dude. Like, me too. As a Christian, I'm someone who believes that we are all created in God's image. We all bleed the same blood. We all are, how can I put this? We're all created in God's image, but we're all created different colors. And if you hate your fellow man because of the color of his skin or the way he looks, then you hate your creator. That's how I see it. So I'm tired of racism too. But you also got to look at the fact that we are all human. We make mistakes. We need forgiveness for our mistakes. Now, whether this this cop in Columbus will be charged with anything. That's up to the justice system. It's up to the city of Columbus or the county where Columbus is in. I don't know for sure what county Columbus is in, because I don't live in Ohio. I live in upstate New York. But when you see somebody else trying to harm a fellow human being, you have to take action somehow. Unfortunately, it ended in a tragic circumstance. And I don't want to turn this into a political show or breaking down of evidence show or a lawyer show. But that tweet after he lead the initial tweet shows that there's some sort of darkness or some sort of hole in LeBron's heart that needs some sort of healing and needs some sort of it just feels like he needs some sort of healing in his own life. And I get it. You're trying to help solve the problem, but you can't always be the hero. You can't always be the hero in these types of situations. And I get what you're trying to say. You're sick of racism. I'm sick of racism too. Coming back to that, but you can't play the hero. You can't expect to be the hero or play the hero all the time because you're trying to get more likes, more retweets, more clout, I guess I could say. I get it. Is it your cultural? And again, cultural figures try to do these things, but it's I don't know. It's a shame that he just didn't apologize, and a lot of that smacks of cowardice. I think a lot of that smacks of just arrogance, cowardice, knowing that certainty, the certainty thing. It's just being certain rather than searching. Being certain, having that certainty rather than just being, seeing and looking for answers, looking for evidence, looking for just seeing what happened first before we make our conclusion. Look for evidence. It's a shame. And that's a shame. I don't like people calling people names, but it's just that's what it just seems like. So sorry, LeBron. I know you're trying to do well. I know you're trying to do your part in helping solve the problem, but this ain't it, dude. This ain't it, brother. Sorry. That's how I feel. All right. The very last thing, I need to take a sip real quick, actually. That's good stuff. So the last thing that I want to talk about is therapy animals for sports franchises. So I went on ESPN this morning, like I do every morning, and I look at articles to try to find something kind of fun or strange to share. I mentioned this in our Belly Up's in our internal channel. I see this headline: Therapy Bunny in Oracle Park stands a hit with San Francisco Giants fans. Now, Oracle Park is where the San Francisco Giants baseball team plays. It used to be called AT&T Park. It used to be called Pac Bell Park. That's what it was initially called. But going on. And I'm going to show you a picture of this not hamster. This rabbit. It is huge. It is a huge rabbit. Look at the size of that thing. That is a big rabbit. So this is what the article says. It says, a handsome golden-colored therapy bunny named Alex came to the ballpark and stole the hearts of San Francisco Giants fans Thursday night, attending the series opener against Miami with owners Kay Cato and Josh Rowe. Sporting a dark bow tie with orange crabs to represent the Giants' colors, 4.5-month-old Alex earned some major screen time in the early innings because it's not every day you see a rabbit at a baseball game. No, it's not. So the backstory is the owner of the bunny is a woman who lost her brewery restaurant, of course, because it's California and can't have nice things in California. And now she runs a small cafe in the U.S. Immigration Office. And according to the article, it says the bunny helps her deal with the anxiety and stress of no longer having her main source of income and fulfillment. Yeah, if I lost my brewery restaurant, I'd be the same way. And also be suing Gavin Newsom for everything he's worth. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. But it's just fun. He's been, the rabbit has actually been to a practice facility for the Golden State Warriors dance team. They plan to go to a Warriors game against the Nuggets. He's welcome back to more games. Welcome back to more games according to the Giants because they won last night. So I guess he's going back to the stadium. So this kind of got me thinking. In the realms of, are there certain franchises that need therapy animals for their fans? And I kind of came up with a small list of teams that could use therapy animals. The first one I came up with was the Jacksonville Jaguars. Of course, Jacksonville Jaguars, their fans have been needing therapy for years. And the thing I came up with for therapy animals was a cat cafe. If you're not familiar with cat cafes, what they are is that basically it's just a coffee shop with cats everywhere. You can pet the cats, you can play with the cats, you can have them snuggle on your lap for 20, 30 minutes at a time. I don't know if there's a time limit for these cat cafes, but if you're a Jaguars fan, you go to a game and you're watching your Jaguars get absolutely slapped around like they were basically for the last 15 games of last year, the last 15 weeks of last year. Get yourself a cat cafe. Go down, have a beer, get a cat, snuggle with it for a bit, play with it. Maybe it's just have some therapy. To have a therapeutic time rather than watching your team lose another game. For my New York Jets, a parrot. Why a parrot? Because it mimics all the swearing and the cussing that Jets fans do during every single game at MetLife Stadium. Now, there were no fans allowed at MetLife Stadium last year. This year, they're planning on having fans back once we get vaccinations rolling out. Once we get herd immunity, when the levels have dropped off a lot, the COVID levels have dropped off, hopefully we'll have fans back in the stands. And again, once the Jets fans need some therapy, need a therapy animal, go to the parrot, do some cursing, do some yelling. They'll yell back at you with curses. Cleveland Browns, easy, dogs. Therapy dogs at Cleveland Browns Stadium. Now, they could have used them over the last 2 decades before this team, current team, became so successful. They had to ruin that with all their success with Baker Mayfield being their quarterback and their run game, and Kevin Stefanski being their head coach, and them having one of the best defenses in the league. I have a feeling that might drop off the next year, but that's neither here nor there. But if Browns fans are seeing their team lose, again, go downstairs to the kennel. Get yourself a dog. Get yourself a therapy dog and just play with it for a bit. Playing with your pets soothes your soul. Try to do that with my cats every once in a while. Well, one of my cats. Tag along. Team mascot. Show mascot. Tag along. He'll, All right, for the Miami Marlins, goldfish. However, the goldfish might not be a good idea, considering it might die sooner than later because nobody actually goes to their games and somebody's going to forget to feed it. $600 million for that stadium, my God. And nobody shows up for the games. All right. Detroit Tigers. Baby tiger cubs rescued from Joe Exotic. Because the Illiches will definitely treat these tiger cubs better than Joe Exotic did. And finally, the Colorado Avalanche. I know they're a highly successful team right now. They're actually, I believe they've already clinched a playoff spot in the NHL. Good on them. Sasquatch or Yeti. About like abominable snowman kind of thing, or Sasquatch. I know Sasquatches are a lot more prevalent to the Pacific Northwest. We'll get to the Seattle Kraken next season, but I think a Sasquatch or a Yeti would be a good therapy animal for anybody who's a Colorado Avalanche fan. I know, again, their team's very successful. They're a very successful franchise right now. They're looking to make a playoff run. Maybe they might win Stanley Cup this year, but for those times that team's not doing well, go hang out with a Sasquatch or a Yeti. Just be careful. Don't mess around with it. Don't play a prank on it. Don't play a prank on it. Because like the Jack Link's commercial, don't mess with Sasquatch. You'll only get hurt. All right. So we're coming up to a half hour into the show. So let me go ahead and give it a partnership shout out. And this week's changed a little bit different. I reached out to our friends with Belly Up, to people who I said I need another ad read. I can't be doing the same ad read every single week for my show. And my friend Belly Up Kev said, I'll be your Huckleberry. He literally Venmoed me 69 cents. Nice. And to do an ad read this week for him. So this is the ad read. So here we go. This episode of Around for the Weekend is brought to you by Belly Up Kev. If you're looking for a random sports argument on Twitter that results in an internet friendship, consider Belly Up Kev. Our resident John Belushi lookalike is co-host of the Corner Booth podcast with Jared and Pat, and he's the host of the Tailgate on the Quad podcast. You'll also find Kev opining in written form every so often on bellyupsports.com and invading occasional live streams to dominate conversations on such topics as Alabama football. He did this a couple weeks ago on the Slapshot Sweethearts live stream during, I believe it was the Penguins and Devils. So it was after that game. He jumped on, and basically the last half hour is him declaring his man crush for Mac Jones. So anyway, you can find Kev on Twitter at BellyUpKev. Literally, that's one word, at BellyUpKev. That's where you can find him on Twitter. BellyUpKev. His mom may have left him, but we never will. And if you're familiar with his mom story, you get the joke. Anyway, so this is going to wrap things up this week for a Round for the Weekend. Why is that no credentials required? I gotta fix that. Sorry about that. I just realized that now. A Round for the Weekend. There we go. So that's it for this week's Around for the Weekend. I'll come back at you next week. I believe it's during the NFL draft. The actual NFL draft finally is next week. We'll finally be free of mock drafts galore until this draft is over and they start doing mock drafts for 2022, which is a never-ending cyclical, just endless cycle of mock drafts forever and ever and ever until the infinity, and all I see is darkness. So... But I'll check in with you then. I'm actually going to be showing up during the third round of the Jets picks on MD's Fantasy Football Show. You can catch me on there. I don't know what time I'll be on. I'll probably be sometime later in the night, but I'll probably be done with this show then, and I'll hop on and talk about the Jets, how their draft is going. Hopefully, it'll be going well by that time. We'll see what they do. Next week is the draft, so good luck to your team that's drafting. I hope they do well, except for the Patriots, because actually most AFC East teams, especially the Patriots and the Bills and the Dolphins. I hope you guys don't draft well. But anyway, that's it for me. Thanks for joining, for all two of you who watched, and we'll see you next weekend. Until then, be safe. Drink up. It's the weekend. Take care.